And Andriy, take it away.
Thank you, Nik. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests. This meeting of online presenters has now begun. Guests, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or a former active member of Toastmasters International, and at least complete 6 speeches from either the traditional or Pathways programs. At the same time, you need to be aware that all requests for membership are subject to board approval. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it shows your name and role if you have one. Right-click to do so. We have members and often guests from many countries throughout the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we will be recording this meeting. Your video audio contributions may be used for our club marketing purposes. Please mute your microphone when you're not speaking. Also, please avoid using chat box during the speaker's presentations. Today's theme of the meeting is Tabula Rasa, meaning clean slate, fresh start. Please welcome our club president, Nik Lakhani.
Thank you very much, Andriy. My name is Nik Lakhani, and I'm president of this club. Welcome. Before we start our meeting, I'd just like to say a big thank you to this club who helped me achieve, and I finally got it official now, a little present from Dan Rex. I've got my DTM award, proper. So Carol, I'm not actually breaking any Toastmaster laws right now. And thank you to the club and all the members for helping me achieve that this year, and all the other Toastmasters I know. Thank you very much. Now, tonight's meeting, we have a fast start. We have a quick start. We're going to hit the ground running for 2021 with our wonderful Toastmaster of the Day, who's going to smoothly transition through all the roles, and we are going to help her by being ready. Please give a really warm hand for Toastmaster of the Day, Sarraldehen.
Thank you, Nik, and Happy New Year to everybody. Our theme today is Tabula Rasa, and we think of that as a clean slate or a new start. And that's what we think of every new year when we begin. We think about, well, we have a new start. We can, whatever we didn't finish last year, we can finish this year. And the goals that we didn't reach last year, we can reach them this year. Tabula Rasa was really talking about in the beginning about the child's brain at the time he's born. And there were some philosophers as well as others who thought that that meant that the child had nothing in his brain whatsoever. But as we learned more, as time went on and other people got involved and started thinking about it, they said, well, they do have something, but for the most part, it's open. And it's open for you to put into it whatever you want. And so parents have that opportunity to put into their children and to help them develop into great Americans, into great leaders, into whatever the child wants to be as well. And so as you think of 2021, yes, we had a pretty challenging 2020, but when you think of 2021, we're thinking of it as our opportunity to fill our slate, to challenge all of those status quos, and to just get out there and be the best that we can be. And online presenters is the way that we can do that. And tonight, we have a great slate of people who are going to help us do it. It's our team of role players, and they're adding value, and they're contributing to the success of tonight's meeting. Our first role player is Timer, which is Krishn. Krishn, please introduce yourself and tell us how you're going to help out in the meeting today.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Well, Timer is one of the roles that I always try to stay away from because we have to be aware of our time. And I'm very bad at my own time management. I'm going to try to do things differently, and we're going to practice one thing. Before I tell you what we're going to practice, as Timer, my role is to keep track of time. And how will I be doing that? Well, I'm going to encourage every single speaker to pay attention to my screen. And what's going to happen? Say you have a speech of 5 to 7 minutes. At 5 minutes, you're going to see the following column. If I can get it right now. This is what you're going to see at 5 minutes. A green on my screen. You won't see my beautiful mug. You'll see a green. At 6 minutes, you're going to see a red. At 7 minutes, you're going, 6 minutes, you're going to see yellow. At 7 minutes, you're going to see red. Same thing for table topics and evaluation. What we are going to do differently today is at 7 minutes, 35 seconds, if you're still speaking and you in your prepared speech, I will mute you. That is what we will do. If we go beyond time, and I will put the timestamps clearly if you're doing a prepared speech, a table topic speech, or an evaluation speech, we will mute you 5 seconds beyond the allocated time. And we'd love to hear your feedback after the meeting closes, if it's something that works for online presenters, or if it's something we don't need, if we prove that online presenters is on the mark with time management. That's all I have to say, and looking forward to this session. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Krishn. Our next helper is our counter, and that's by Elizanne Warren Russell. Please help me welcome Elizanne, and she will tell us how she's going to participate in tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Today I'm the R counter, and as R counter, I am looking for all of the filler words, your R's, your ums, and all the other words, and the ones that you use repeatedly, as well as those that you use to fill in gaps. At the end of the evaluation, I will be given an account of all those words. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Elizanne. Our next helper is Emily Thompson, and Emily is our grammarian. Emily, please let us know the word of the day and tell us how you're going to be working in the meeting tonight.
Sure. As grammarian of the day, I am to relate to you the word of the day. Our word of today is resumption, which is a noun, the act or fact of taking up or going on with again, especially something that is interrupted. And we are all very excited about resumption of normal activities when COVID has bit the dust, or at least most of us have been vaccinated. I will be listening as grammarian for your use of the word of the day. I will also be listening for improper usage of grammar, and especially great examples of grammar. And I usually get so caught up in the speeches, I never listen to. I never hear bad things, especially here. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Emily. Our watcher today is Angela Heath. Angela, please tell us what you're going to be doing in the meeting tonight, and please help me welcome Angela Heath.
Good evening, everyone. I am the watcher for today, and I will be checking you out to see how you're looking online. And although you can't see my eyes, I am watching you. And I'll give a report at the end. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Watcher. The chat monitor is next. Mahfuzur Rahman. Please help me welcome Mahfuzur, as he's going to tell us what he's going to be doing in the meeting tonight.
Madam Toastmaster, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, folks other side of the world. I have the opportunity to watch the chat today, and the chat is already on fire. And my job is to keep track of the helpful and encouraging humorous posts throughout the meeting, and I will have a highlight end of this meeting for you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mahfuzur. The vote counter has an important role tonight. Please help me welcome Ginette Francois to tell us about vote counting.
Yes, good evening, everyone. As a vote counter, my role is to count all the votes in the chat. And remember, there's no requirements to vote. Everybody is encouraged to vote. And at the end, I will give you my report for the best speaker, the best table topic, and the best evaluator. Back to you, Mrs. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Diane. And we have heard from all of our helpers tonight, and the next part of our meeting is really threefold. We will have prepared speeches, table topics, and also evaluations. The purpose of the prepared speeches is those that are working on projects or have goals that they're trying to complete, they get an opportunity to do that at each meeting by presenting speeches. And then they get to have an evaluation so they can know how they can improve, what they did right, and then just encourage everybody else through their speeching and also through the evaluation that they receive. So at this time, we're going to call our speakers up. Our first speaker of tonight is Maryruth Dilling, and Mary's evaluator is Jim Barber. So we're going to ask Jim to please come and give us Mary's objectives. Please help me welcome Jim Barber.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. You caught me off guard there a little bit. Hang on, I'm trying to, technology, I hate computers. David could straighten it all out, but I'm having all kinds of problems. Mary is our first speaker tonight. She's speaking from the Motivational Strategies Level 2, Learning Your Style. It's a 5 to 7 minute presentation, and it's going to be incredible. I'll give you my evaluation later. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jim. She was a little late putting in her topic and also the path that she's working on. But she'll be working from the innovative planning. Hold on just a second. Innovative planning, level 2, assessing your leadership style.
Thank you.
Innovative planning, level 2. Some say that leaders are born, others say they are made. Despite her withdrawn period of time, Maryruth has often naturally stepped into a leadership position. Today, Maryruth will share some of her thoughts on leadership assessment and share the dichotomy of leading the INFJ way. Please help me welcome Maryruth Dilling, and the title of her speech is Leading the INFJ Way. Maryruth.
When asked to evaluate my leadership style per Toastmaster assessment, I scored high in 3 levels: coaching, democratic, and authoritative. That may seem somewhat of a dichotomy, but as an INFJ, it fits me perfectly. INFJ is one of the 16 Myers-Briggs personality types. It is the most rare, with only 1 to 2% of the population falling within this rating. Each of the letters stand for introverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging. INFJs are called advocates and counselors. They tend to be writers and teachers, of which that's what I am. INFJs are passionate about helping people whenever possible. We are the ones who try to change the world. To do this, effective leadership is essential. From a leadership perspective, INFJs, we work very hard for a win-win in conflict situations. We love to encourage people to achieve their very best. We focus on relationships and how to help others achieve their personal goals. Because we are contemplators, when we are given a great deal of new information, we need time to reflect and consider the problem from all angles. This can lead to conflict if reflective time is not given. And if a major decision needs to be made in a short amount of time, we tend to go with the gut. We use our intuition a lot. From my personal perspective, I rely on my intuition more than all the other facts that I've researched and studied. INFJs are creative nurturers with a strong sense of personal integrity and a drive to help others. Now, these traits demonstrate both the coaching and the democratic style of leadership. We work hard to help others achieve their potential. We tend to be creative and very dedicated. And we have a natural innate ability of helping others reach their goals. We love to help people brainstorm when they're having a problem. Now, the counselor has a unique ability to sense other people's emotions. Sometimes we understand what you're feeling more before you yourself know. We trust our insights about others, and we have a strong faith in our ability to read people. Now, from the authoritative standpoint, we tend to focus on the task, but our focus is on bettering the human condition. We are very principled and we like to plan. We have been called visionary planners. Our goal is to help humanity improve. We are very good at organizing and making sure that everyone in our team is working at their special place, using their strengths. We are very creative problem solvers, and we bring creative solutions for solving problems. We listen attentively to others, and this works great when in a leadership. We try to make sure that everyone has a voice, and that people, when they're having trouble, maybe with a job or something, we're the ones to go and say, hey, how can we help? We motivate by sharing a positive vision. We often are quiet and unassuming, but we win our others' dedication because of our own work ethic. From a personal standpoint, most people don't understand INFJs. It used to bother me that people just thought I was a little weird, but now I'm okay. I'm used to marching to my own drummer. Living life in the 1% is not always easy. And coming from the background where I suffered extreme anxiety and panic at any type of position, I am thankful that I have learned the skills at Toastmasters to become an effective leader. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Maryruth. Our next speaker is Carol Prahinski. Carol is speaking from his Persuasive Influence, Level 3, Increasing Knowledge, Understanding Conflict Resolution. The title of her speech is Conflict. Conflict is a normal part of deepening relationships, yet it is also a barrier if not managed correctly. Today, our speaker will share a recent conflict and methods used that worked and didn't work to address this disagreement. Please join me in welcoming Charter Member Carol Prahinski.
Woohoo! Yeah, thank you. Whoa, we don't have any conflict in our lives, do we? None. None at all. Everything is smooth sailing. We get exactly what we need. We walk into the store. Everybody is doing what they're supposed to do. We come home. No problem at all, right? Anything that you need has been handed to you, and you don't have to fight against the rapids at all. Yeah, we got rapids, buddy. We got a lot of rapids. They're turbid. They are enough to put us under the water and wipe us out. We've been fighting for ourselves, for our families, our loved ones, and this environment, whether it be in whatever country we're in, but it is a tough situation that we've been facing. And why am I talking about this environment? Because every little thing can set us off, and we have our own perspectives based on the news feeds that we've been reading on what's right and what's wrong. So when we're dealing with conflict, this is what I'm supposed to talk about today. When we're dealing with conflict, ask yourself, how do we resolve it? And it's a lot easier when you're sitting on the outside, me as a professor, dealing with two students that are trying to have a conversation and not being successful with it. It's a lot easier being on the outside than if it's me having a conflict with somebody else. And I want to talk about that today. It's the recognition that we are invaluable. We have opportunities for growth. And sometimes we need to reflect and think about, how did I work through that conflict? Was I doing a good job with it? Or did I need some tweaking to modify my behavior to get it even stronger and better? Not just for me getting my way, but for us resolving the conflict in a way that allows us to be successful in this community relationship. Last night, my husband and I left the house to go drop off mail to the post box. We walk at night because that's when nobody else is out. I know that might sound really strange in Key West, but we avoid Duval Street, in case you're wondering, which is where all the bars are. Mm-hmm. So we go to the post box, we drop off the mail, and we decided in advance to go to CVS on the way home. It's the first time we have stopped at CVS in a month. We don't hardly ever go out, and this was a very important experience for us. We had a couple things we needed to buy, and we said, okay, let's stop. Well, everything was going great. People were respectful. Everybody had the mask on. Things were going smooth. In matter of fact, I was all by myself in many of the aisles. My husband went over there to get that. I went over here to get this. We were going to be fast in and out. As I approached the counter for checkout, my husband was not near me. I waited. A man walked in without a mask. First person I've seen without a mask. I was concerned, but immediately I heard the cashier say, "Sir, you must wear a mask in this facility. If you don't have a mask, we're happy to sell you one." Very respectful. He refused. His first excuse was that he felt he didn't need to wear one. His second excuse was that it was too expensive. His third excuse was, just give me my way. All I'm in here for is a bottle of wine, and then I'll leave. And you could be a lot faster if you just let me get that bottle of wine, which is right over there, than you are letting me do right now. He left being unsuccessful in his endeavors. Meanwhile, I'm still waiting for my husband. Where is he? So I go searching for him. I come back, he's with me now, and we're ready to check out. But lo and behold, there's another person here without a mask. It's a woman. She's about the same age as that guy. It turns out that they were together. She has using the same arguments that he did unsuccessfully. This time though, she decides to buy a mask. She puts it on below her nose. She puts it on skewed. We can see this side of her mouth. I said, like this, patting my mouth to indicate that it needed to be recentered. Then I realized she's doing this on purpose. Ooh, anger came to me. How do I deal with this? Now the cashier is also dealing with it, but I, feeling rambunctious and extroverted, not like our previous speaker, I decided I was going to jump in there and have my 2 cents. Eventually, the woman asked me, why do you even leave your house? It's actually the first time I've left my house in a long time. I didn't have a response for her. I looked at the stuff in my hands, greeting cards, a little bit of candy left over from Christmas that was on sale, and a foot device for my foot that's causing me some pain. That's it. That's all I had. Did I really have to go to CVS? No. Why did I? But then I'm like, why can't I? If everybody's being respectful and there's not anybody there, we should be able to do this successfully, all of us in our community. But I didn't have a response for her. As I worked through this conflict management tool, there's a couple of strategies that they recommend. Discussing the pros and cons amongst us. What's the pro of wearing the mask? What's the con of wearing masks? I don't think that's going to have much benefit because we are stuck in our positions, both of us. Asking us to stay a little longer, to have a more in-depth conversation, to develop a resolution. Okay, I don't think that's going to be successful either. I want to get out of there fast because she is still spreading her germs. We can brainstorm, we can compromise, but how do we truly resolve conflict when we, you and I, are stuck in our positions? And a lot of this has become so political that we are struggling as a community to get past these roadblocks. I don't necessarily have a solution for you. I'm looking for resumption. How do I get past it? How do we achieve nirvana? I would like that. Meanwhile, I recognize that I still have opportunities for growth in my conflict management. I encourage you and me to continue to listen and learn from what we can improve in our conflicts. Thank you so much. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Carol. And hopefully with the wearing of the mask, we soon will be having resumption back to our normal way of doing things, so we won't need them. Our next speaker is Lois Margolin. Lois will be speaking from Motivational Strategies, Level 1, Mastering Fundamentals, Evaluation and Feedback, her first speech. The title of her speech is The Things We Learn About Ourselves. Isn't that interesting? And distinguished Toastmaster Lois Margolin was the co-lead for the virtual Toastmaster conference held on December 5th, 2020. This speech is about the things we learn about ourselves. Please help me welcome Lois Margolin.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day, my fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. I was the boss. Many years ago, I remember sitting down every Monday with my staff and saying, you'll do this, you'll do this, you'll do this, and everybody took notes and off we went and did our work. Well, the first time I was running an event for a volunteer organization, I remember I did the exact same thing. You'll do this, you'll do this, you'll do this. And one of the women raised their hand and said, no, I don't want to do that. And I remember I was shocked. I went, what? She goes, no, I've done that for too many years. I want to handle raffles. And I remember looking at her thinking, okay, I didn't ask for your opinion, but this is the way it's going to go. And then everybody got in an uproar because the woman who did raffles has done raffles for years and didn't want to give it up. And then the reservation lady, oh, she wanted to do hospitality. And I realized what works in a business atmosphere as a boss does not work for volunteers. I spent many years moving around and changing the way I work with people that are in volunteer organizations. And I ended up running events from anywhere from 100 to over 1,000 people, and they were incredibly successful. Here's the trick to those events. We had a strong foundation. We knew exactly where everything was. And the interesting part was, because we had such a strong foundation, we were not worried about opening up certain areas and seeing, what can we do to make this better? How can we change this? What would you like to see different? Because the foundation was there. And you had that security blanket knowing that year after year, this event is run, and it is run like clockwork. And you don't have to worry about forgetting anything because it's all documented. Yes, I'm a checklist person, so it was all there right on my checklist. When Nik came to me and asked me to co-chair the VTM conference, I said, sure, why not? Now, we had 8 weeks that this conference was going on. And what I didn't take into account was we did not have the foundation built. There were no walls, there were no ceilings, there were no floors. I kind of felt like Dr. Seuss, because every time we met, we were shifting and we were bobbing and weaving and going every which way, trying to figure out, how should we do this? Within 2 weeks, we found all of our team leads. They were magnificent. They were brilliant. Sometimes they were a little too brilliant because they brought up ideas that we did not want to address because we hadn't thought of it. Had we thought of it, we would have been happy to address those ideas. Simple ideas like, why do you only have men as speakers? I don't know, because that's what we found. Well, we think we should have some women. Oh yeah, we should definitely have women. Okay, let's have women. Again, weaving and bobbing. Sometimes I felt like Muhammad Ali. Let's go, just sting just a little bit. It was very interesting. And then someone had the audacity to say, what's our tagline? And Nik and I looked at each other and go, well, that's a really good question too. Let's figure that one out. So in this short span of time, we were constantly shifting and moving and making things work. And personally, I'm very proud of what we were able to accomplish. I looked at all of this and I said to myself, wow, this is a group of individuals, because it wasn't just Nik and myself, but we also had Krishn, who was our special advisor, even though he's hiding his face right now. We had some phenomenal team leads and we had great ideas, and the event came off like clockwork. My biggest challenge was my president, Nik, because I had never had someone that I didn't really know on a very personal basis. And one of the things that I found was Nik is very, oh, let's just kind of go with it. And I'm more like, here's my checklist. We do this, we do this, we do this, we do this. And it was an interesting conflict, to use Carol's term, of how we approach different things. But we managed to make it work. And a perfect example of this is for the day of the event. So the week before, I sat down and I typed up my script. And my script had down to the minute what I was going to say and who was going to say what and how I was going to introduce people. And the whole thing was scripted out. And it was 25 pages. And when I sent it to Nik, he looked at it and he said, what are you doing? And I said, well, we have to know what we're going to say. What are you going to say? Where's your script? Well, I'm just going to wing it. And there were a lot of gasps in there because winging it was so not in my wheelhouse. But I realized that there were these shifts beneath the sand. There were these subtle movements that was happening inside me that was allowing me to have things that are different than how I normally move towards something. So I didn't say anything. I bit my lip. It bled a little bit, I will say, but it was okay because Nik knew what he wanted to say. Did he say everything he wanted to say? I don't know. I didn't have a script. I can't tell you that. What I can say is that the event was a lot of fun. Nobody died. We weren't launching rockets. Did it matter that he didn't have a script to the nth word? No. Did it matter that I did have a script? For me, yes, it was my security blanket. I was happy to know that at this point, I was going to thank these people. And at this point, I was going to introduce this person and show that slide or this slide, because that's how my brain operates. I'm recognizing that when you work with someone who is more easygoing, Their brain doesn't necessarily operate that way, but that doesn't mean that they don't accomplish just as much. So my lesson learned was that all styles of leadership work. Will they work with you? You just have to be aware that the sands of time are indeed shifting. Madam Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you. We had 3 excellent speeches tonight, and each of them were encouraging us as we go into 2021, the things that we can learn about ourselves and how we can deal with conflict, and then how we can learn new leadership styles as well. So fantastic job, everyone. Mr. Timer, how is the time for each speaker?
Right, Madam Toastmaster, two of our speakers qualify. So Toastmaster Prahinski went a bit over time, so she took 7 minutes 35 seconds, but the other 2 speakers, they qualify to be voted in.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Timer. At this time, everybody who would like to vote, please put in the chat your vote for the speaker, the best speaker that you saw tonight. Just put it in there, and then we'll have results at the end of the meeting. At this time, we're going to go into table topics. Our table topic master is, Marianne Grady. Marianne Grady. Sorry, I lost my place. Marianne Grady, please help me welcome Marianne Grady as our topics master.
Why, thank you, Madam Toastmaster, and hello, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Table Topics is where we practice our extemporaneous speaking skills. A lot of people feel fearful because you don't know what questions come in your way. But Table Topics is a very important part of our meeting because it helps us speak on our toes. Now, the holidays have rushed past, and we are now resuming our regular activities in the spirit of the new year and tabula rasa. I have come up with some quotes. I'll read a quote along with the question, and you'll have 1 to 2 minutes to answer. But remember, if you're called upon, there's no right or wrong answers. Just have fun. I would like to invite Lou Brown to be our first Table Topics participant. Lou, there's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. It's a quote by William Shakespeare. How have you used positive thinking to advance yourself, either personally or professionally?
Madam Topics Master, thank you so much. That is a very interesting quote. For those of you who know me on an intimate level, like Lois alluded to, in terms of her relationship with Nik, I guess the lack of, I have been involved in the personal development space for about 4 to 5 years now. So I am all over positive quotes and memes and images and all that. You probably saw it in my Facebook feed and other areas where I'm just like positive quote after positive quote. I love things like this because in general, I equate what you said, the Shakespeare quote, to, I guess, just being. You know, when I think of it myself, there isn't right or wrong, good or bad, maybe even evil and good. I mean, we think of these in certain terms, but everything is really relative. I remember one time when I was little and I said a word that I shouldn't have said to my mom, only because I heard it at school. I didn't know what it meant. I just repeated it. And she immediately, of course, you know, I got the soap, my mouth washed out with soap. That gives you a little bit of a clue how old I am, because this is back in the old days when people got their mouth washed out with soap. And as I get older, I just realized, well, words are just words. Certainly some words are taken in a, you know, they're meant to be bad words, say, but are there really such a thing as bad words, good things, bad things? I mean, I think in terms of extremes, those certainly exist, and probably more so on the negative side, meaning things like murder and stealing and things like that, negative behaviors. But when I think of things from a very general sense, sounds we make, words we say, things we do, they really just exist because we've learned them, experience, tradition, things like that. To wrap this all up, great quote, helped me to develop my own sense of awareness and acceptance of things and understanding other people, and really just understanding myself and my past and how I was able to move to a better place where I'm at today, and I continue to grow going forward. Resumption of personal development, Mr. Lou Brown. Thank you, Madam Topics Master.
Well, thank you, Lou. Our next speaker on Table Topics will be Diane Rubino. Diane, your quote is, "There are better things ahead than we leave behind," by C.S. Lewis. What good things await you in this new year?
Well, perhaps I'm being overly optimistic, Madam Table Topics Master and fellow Toastmasters and guests, but I am a big believer in vaccines, and I am super excited that we have so many ahead. Now, I know there's a lot of vaccine hesitancy, and that exists all over the world, but I can't help but think in the moment of given the opportunity to do something for the public good, that we all would do that. Except, notwithstanding anyone at CVS last night with Carol and her husband, I think that so many good things wait for us ahead, and I am enthusiastic, positive, happy about 2021, and I so much look forward to being back in the classroom rather than teaching online, although that has its charms. So vaccines is what helps give me a positive outlook for the future, and I invite you to be hopeful about the road ahead for all of us. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. And I too am pretty excited about the vaccine. And I just learned that I will be in the third quadrant of, or the third group in phase 1. So I was pretty happy about that. So soon. Our next quote, well, let me see, our next participant is Pamela Benjamin. And your quote is, "I don't know where I'm going from here, but I promise it won't be boring." It's by David Bowie. So what is your game plan to keep 2021 from being boring? Pam Benjamin.
Madam Table Topics Master, I have many projects in 2021. My project that's probably the dearest to my heart is completing a half Ironman race. It's been rescheduled twice. I kind of call it Groundhog's Day. It was supposed to be last April, then it was November, and now it's April again. So my Groundhog Day race has been rescheduled, and I've been training for it for 2 years now. So now I should be super duper ready, and everything should be wonderful. So I can't wait to actually finish it and maybe take a break from my 2 years of training. So I think it's going to be a wonderful 2021 because we have sat so long and chatted online so long. When we see real people in groups, I think we will all be euphoric, and it will just be an incredible experience for all of us.
Yes, I'm with you, with the exception of all that running. But I'm very excited about 2021. All right, next up, Lukas Calafell. Your quote is, "Go confidently in the direction of your dreams," by Henry David Thoreau. Your question, how do you summon your confidence when you are doing something you've never done before? Lukas Calafell.
Thank you, Madam Topics Master, and hello again, fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests. So you mentioned how to pull your confidence or one's confidence in doing something new. Is that correct?
Do you want me to read it again?
Yeah.
How do you summon your confidence when you are doing something you have never done before?
Well, part of it is just going with it, and another part is reflecting on things that you've done in the past and thinking about success stories and what are the things that you implemented and things that you did in order to be successful in previous experiences. And you can try to implement those things for something new and see what works and see what may not work, and pick and choose. And while that may not guarantee success moving forward, it is something that you can go off of and use as a springboard to be successful in that next endeavor, that new thing that one could have in mind. I mentioned that just generally, but also for myself, because at some point you have to think about, well, what information do I have to go off of? Another thing that one can do is, because of the internet, regardless of what new thing you're doing, somebody may have already done something like it or similar, or they did that exact same thing. And what that provides me and others is the ability to do research and prepare and figure things out, ask questions, interview others to improve one's chances of success. So those are some things that I keep in my mind: is use what's worked in the past, explore new ideas, and do your research and prepare. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Lucas. Now, the next person, I'm going to call a guest this time, Ms. Surya Vangala. Your quote is, "What a wonderful thought it is that some of the best days of our lives haven't even happened yet." Anne Frank said that. What kind of event would be better than anything you have been experienced yet? Surya Vangala.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters from online presenters and guests. What have I not experienced yet to say that the best days of my life, of our lives, my husband and mine, are ahead of us? Well, let me tell you a huge day that we've been waiting for. My younger son, Nevin Vangala, was engaged in December of 2019. Back then, we were all excited. COVID was yet to come. We were all excited about celebrating their wedding in 2020. Lo and behold, there was COVID and pandemic and all the ensuing chaos and issues that we all faced together, but came out of with silver linings. But what am I looking forward to? When we spoke to them a few days ago, we are looking forward to their celebration of their wedding. Therefore, I do believe the best days of my life, our lives, our families' lives, our social lives are still ahead of me. Pandemic may slow us down, but it's not going to stop us. We are yet to face the best days of our lives. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Well, thank you. Now, our final table topic of today will go to Birgit. Your quote is, "Don't wait for extraordinary opportunities. Seize common occasions and make them great." This quote is from Orison Swett Morden. Can you tell me about a time when you were experiencing a common event and surprisingly, it turned out great? Birgit.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. I would have a lot of examples, but as with everybody else, I'm going to turn to 2020 because we had a lot of common events that we are all experiencing in very different ways. And some of you who know me know that I'm a ballroom dancer. So when we first went into lockdown, I live in Silicon Valley and my instructor had moved to the LA area a few years back. And so all of a sudden I couldn't go down to LA twice a month to have lessons. And we were just convinced that doing online lessons was not going to work. So that was a very common thing for me. Multiple times a week, I'd go to lessons in the ballroom, dance with him, and learn something in the process. Well, all of a sudden, here we were on FaceTime, which is a little bit crazy because we had to deal with all these things that as online presenters, we're getting used to or have gotten used to more quickly than I think the rest of the world in Toastmasters. Things like the time delays. He was no longer able to take my arm and move it to the right place or move my head to the right place where it should be. So he became more descriptive when it comes to words, and I became better at not waiting for him to actually push my body part to the right place for a dance move, but to actually listen to it and make my body do it. And here we are 7 months later. So just the common event of going to a dance lesson, I've been practicing in a very small space, and I used to be able to do a whole waltz pattern in that space. Now I can maybe get through half a measure before I have to back up and keep going. And I was able to visit him just a few weeks back. And guess what? I've improved a lot, even when I'm dancing with him. So this common thing of an in-person dance lesson, I was a little worried when I went down. Is all of this work that I've done online, is that going to translate into the human connection again? And I'm very happy to report that it definitely did. So I'm super excited to make a common thing translated online and translated back into a common thing in person. Madam Table Topics Master.
Great story, loved it. Now, at the end here, I'm going to ask the timer if all of our contestants have qualified.
Everyone qualifies for voting, Madam Table Topics Master.
So I will ask you all to kindly vote for your favorite Table Topics speaker. Please send your vote via private chat to our vote counter tonight, Ginette Francois. Back to you, Toastmaster Sarraldehen.
Thank you, Marianne. What a wonderful topics master session. At this time, we're going to have our general evaluator, who is David Carr, come and take us into the next portion of our meeting for tonight. Please help me welcome David Carr, our general evaluator for tonight.
Thank you very much. This is often known as the most important part of the meeting because this is where people get feedback. We'll be starting off with our first evaluator, Jim Barber, giving feedback to our first speaker, Maryruth Dilling. Mr. Barber, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. My fellow Toastmasters, our most welcome guest this evening, and especially Maryruth Dilling. Mary, this was an effective presentation. Informative, entertaining, interesting. Basically, you hit it on all notes. Congratulations, this was great. Let's get specific. Your verbals, frankly, I thought they were all outstanding. Everything was effective. Your diction, your use of vocabulary, your pacing, your use of pause, your overall speech structure, all of these things worked. They were congruent, nothing stood out, which is exactly the way it should be. Everything fit together nicely and the whole package just worked. That just plain worked. Now let's look at the visual side of it. And this was also effective, but I have a few suggestions for you. Little tiny things, but little things that might help a little bit. Let's start with your eye contact. Your eye contact was excellent. You did not have eye contact with the members of the group. You had eye contact with the camera, and that was superb. You were excellent on that. However, you do have to look at your notes occasionally, just as I'm having to look at my notes occasionally. You had your notes positioned down below you. So when you look to your notes, you had to do that. And it was a little bit distracting. Whereas I've got my notes beside the camera, and so I can glance at them over here, and it's not quite as obvious as my looking down. So you might try putting your notes off to the side of the camera. It will improve when those times when you have to look at your notes, it'll make your eye contact a little bit better. Let's also look at your background, which you can see there in the picture. I like your background. It's very good. It's intellectual. It's very literate. I like it. However, it's a case of optics. Normally, when you're looking at somebody like we are looking at you, the background is out of focus and your background is in focus. We can almost read the titles on the books, and this is a little bit distracting. Now, I don't know how well you can handle this because I don't know where you got your background from, but if you could blur, use Photoshop or something to blur the background a little bit, it wouldn't be as distracting and it would make for a great background. Just a little bit of blur. And that leads me to the third item, your gestures. Your gestures were very good. They were effective. They were congruent with what you were saying, worked well, except occasionally your gestures, you would move quickly. And I think there it's a bandwidth problem. The gestures would fade. And because of a busy background, they would actually vanish. So a couple of times when you held up 3 fingers, it actually looked like you were holding up 2 because one of the fingers went away. And you can solve this problem by just slowing it down a little bit. Don't move your hands rapidly, hold them still like that and let the camera actually zero in on them. But these are tiny suggestions to improve an otherwise excellent presentation. Now join me for a resumption, a resumption of our Toastmasters meeting, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmaster Barber. Our second evaluator, Andrew Bern, is a DTM and an MD. Give us your prescription for Carol Prahinski and tell her how to handle the drugstore next time.
Thank you very much, David. I appreciate that. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters, dignitaries, and most especially Carol. Really appreciated your speech on conflict, something that we all go through. What did I really especially like? Pacing, voice, dynamics were wonderful. You used appropriate gestures, and you had a provocative background that summarized where you were going with your speech. Your speech was well organized, and the audience was engaged because you asked questions, you looked at them, you smiled at them, and it brought you together with your audience. I think that as you looked at these things, you did have some opportunities where you could have improved the situation. First off, when you had your background with the 2 people in the canoe going in opposite directions, generating that conflict, if you did what Jim Barber did in terms of putting yourself on a portion of the screen and having your slide in another part of the screen where you could see it clearly, where you weren't obstructing that picture, it would have made things better. To do that, go to the latest Zoom, which is Zoom 5.4.7, and you'll be able to do that effectively. Your voice was great. You had great dynamic range. There's not much I could recommend in terms of that. You talked about important and informative items, and it was very clear that you lived that situation and solved it. Know that you can use your computer to generate some additional things. For example, you're talking about a mask. You could put a mask on, just like this. If you don't want to put the mask on because the guy didn't want to keep it on, you can take off the mask easily. So you can use your computer filters to do some interesting things for your speaking. The next thing is that I think in summary, you had great content, you covered great gestures. For example, when you were talking about anger and emotions, you really expressed it and it came forward on your screen. In summary, I loved your talk. You were excellent. Toastmaster skills came through. Your voice, your content, dynamic range, and pacing. Gestures were appropriate, engagement of the audience, and you kept everybody's attention. I think that you did a wonderful job in those aspects. I'm looking for the timer. Where is the timer? I can't find it. Okay, timer's there. Thank you very much, David.
All right, thank you, Andy. Number 3 on our evaluator list is Andriy Smolenko, who has the task of telling the fabulous Lois Margolin how to be even a little bit more fabulous. Andriy.
Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, and most importantly, fabulous Lois Margolin. What can I add to this introduction? Your speech was fabulous in many respects. I could see the clear structure. I could see what you wanted to tell, because you're doing a motivational strategies pathway program. And in my understanding, the purpose of your speech was captivate, motivate with a strict, good moral. Prior to your speech, we had a little chat, and you asked me to say, Andriy, just concentrate on one thing only. It's what is moral of the story. And how is that easily perceived? Well, Lois, moral of your story, in my view, was clearly seen, visible, and felt to me and to fellow Toastmasters. Your infectious, absolutely infectious and incredibly well-structured style captivate my and fellow Toastmaster attention. We wanted to know what was all that conference about. I wanted to learn about you, personally you, especially when you open up yourself into different styles, business style that you pursued for many years of your life and in controversy. It was work with non-for-profit organization, accepting people's opinions. The message was quite clear. If you accept other people's opinions, you can go much, much far. A few things I still believe you could take on board in order to make your speech even greater, as more fabulous as Mr. Fellow Toastmaster put on. I'll concentrate about the structure of your speech, about the audience participation and conclusion. In structure of your speech, I would put on first place the event. We need to know about what was the event about, how successful that was the event. If you start your speech with that, would captivate our attention even more. Then number 2, audience participation. Your experienced Toastmaster, Lois, perhaps calling out on names, maybe Nik, or maybe Krishn, or someone who was at those events and asking the question, how was that, Nik? Maybe giving a bit more power to people to share their emotions. Thing number 3, conclusion. You're doing a motivational strategies pathway. I was hoping to be more motivated. For example, if you sign up for the next event that we're already doing, then you will get A, B, C, and D. And I urge you to do that. That was your opportunity to promote the next events and get our attention into this. Overall, strong, well-rehearsed speech. The moral was there, Lois. I enjoy listening to you, and I'm looking forward to the next speech. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
All right. Which brings me to the resumption of my duties as General Evaluator, where I have to confess that the resumption of my participation in online presenters found my mind totally tabula rasa, as in I had signed up several weeks in advance for roles, but today I completely forgot that I'd signed up for something in advance. I forgot that I was supposed to be General Evaluator. I saw that there was an open role, and so I signed up for something else, and Krishn had to set me right. One item of feedback on this meeting. We have to decide, and I don't think we've ever had an official ruling on this, whether it is the evaluator's job to play a role in introducing the speaker. And I know that is actually a common pattern across many clubs, but it was never a pattern in my club. And that is a challenge in the way online presenters run sometimes. I compare it to the way Dave Barry describes driving in Miami, where everybody drives according to the laws of their native country. So we probably should make a decision on whether that is part of our standard process and put it on the agenda either way. So just one suggestion for the future.
That's okay,
Other than
David.
that,
I've decided, David, I've decided we won't have evaluators introducing. Is that okay?
Sure. Okay. Just try to let folks know about that, because again, people do it the way they're used to it in their home clubs.
Thank you.
That concludes my remarks.
Thank you, David. What a wonderful session. And that's true, because in my club, we usually have the evaluators introduced, and that's why I was kind of mixed up with that today, but I was set straight, so that's good. So we had a great meeting. At this time, I'm going to turn you over to our president, Nik.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you very much, David. David, would you not want to call our
Yes, you're right. You're right. I am supposed to call on the
chat monitors,
various functionaries. I had my thing that I wanted to say.
Okay.
Let's see. Let us hear from our grammarian for the evening, Emily.
Sure. Thank you, David. We had a number of uses of the word of the day in speeches. We had them from Carol, Jim, Emily. I think there were a few other uses as well. And then there were quite a few in the chat, which I was having trouble monitoring everything at once. We had wonderful speeches today, and we had use of literary devices. Carol, for example, used metaphors, which is a literary device comparing unlike things, where she said conflict was like putting us in the water and wiping us out. Maryruth was using a literary device called a buzzword when she referred to INFJ, a word or phrase that's fashionable. And then we also had our third speaker gave us synecdoche, which is where one object stands for the whole. And she talked about a foundation, and then also described what the foundation was, being the floor and walls. I just wanted to bring up that people are using advanced rhetorical devices, and this makes this such an interesting club for speeches that we can listen to. Back to you, David.
Wonderful. Let's also hear from our watcher, Angela.
You guys looked fabulous tonight. Everybody looked wonderful. We had great backgrounds, from the White House to mountains to space. And we had people changing their backgrounds, especially I enjoyed how you were using the blackboards. In terms of the background that I thought was just absolutely stunning, there was a tie in my mind, and one was Lois. That is really such a beautiful royal blue, and the spotlight is perfect. It makes me think that you are really there. And Pamela, that is a gorgeous background. It really accents your skin tone. So that's my report.
Wonderful. Let us hear from our chat monitor. Help me on the pronunciation. Is it Mahfuzur? I'm sorry.
You got it, Mr. General Evaluator, and the chat has been on fire. And what I appreciated is when the speakers were and the table topics were going on, nobody was pinging except I fat finger once. And absolutely, and I encourage those. I have pasted the link for the Mayor Breaks survey, so it's free. So again, if you want to take your assessment, I definitely, if I hire somebody, I take everyone through that assessment. So Maryruth, thanks for bringing that. Otherwise, thanks for clarifying, Lou Brown, and you took the lead. I appreciate it. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
All right. Let us also hear from our counter, Elizanne.
Yes, hi, how you doing, everyone? We had a lot of quietness as far as the filler words. which is very good. I did recognize there was someone who had a thing with things. This was Mr. Lou Brown. He had a thing with things. He's mentioned things a couple of times. And we did appreciate the super-duper word. And there was a phrase, the sounds of times are indeed shifting. So those, like I said, there was little or no filler words, and those were the words that were interesting in tonight's meeting. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you. And do I call for the vote counter as well? Or, yeah, I will. Let us hear what our vote results were.
Yes, thank
Ginette.
you, Mr. General Evaluator. Before I start giving you the count for the votes, I would like to repeat this, the quote that I see on the chat, and I think it's very pertinent for the reason why we have all those speeches at Toastmasters, especially at online presenters, and I'm gonna repeat it. It says, wherever you fly, you'll be the best of the best. Wherever you go, you will top all the rest, except when you don't, because sometimes you won't. And I find that it's very interesting. It was a very interesting quote. And well, now it's time to do the drum roll for the best speech. The drum roll for the best speech tonight, it's Lois Margolin. And now for the second drum roll for the best table topics. For the best table topic, we have Birgit Starmanns. Thank you, Birgit. And for the last, it's for the best evaluator. And the best evaluator, we're gonna do the drum roll again. It's Andriy Smolenko. So thank you, everyone. We had a great, wonderful night. And thank you. Back to you, Mrs. Toastmaster.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, General Evaluator. Thank everyone who participated in the meeting tonight. I'm going to turn it over to Nik, our president.
Thank you very much. Shout me if anybody's missed a roll, but thank you, David. Thank you, Sarah. Great job, both of you. Great timing. I have some announcements. Lou, are you there? I'm going to come to you in a second for the Smedley Award. But before that, let's just talk about the education team are putting on a speakathon Saturday, 30th of January. The time to be posted later, but Lukas is running that. Please get in touch with him. He will put it on the agenda on our website in the next couple of days. And there will be speech slots available. Our VTM Con, guess what? We're doing it again. It's going to be in June. This time, it's going to be Pamela and Krishn, who are going to be co-chairs, and myself and Lois will be special advisors. And we are looking for team members for the following teams: liaison, program, contest, Zoom, talent, breakout, recording, and public relations. So get involved. It was fabulous last time. Our online presenters really smashed it this time. You know, let's do it again. And you'll be working with people all over the world. And Lou, please tell us what we achieved in the last couple of days.
Thank you. Before I go into the actual award, give you a little context. I sent out an email yesterday with this information in addition to some other things. But over the Toastmaster cycle, there are several membership building programs that are official Toastmaster International membership building programs, and they take place at different points throughout the cycle. Normally, they're over a span of 2 months. We've already had one of those events called the Smedley Award, and that is for any club that has 5 or more new members join between August 1st and September 30th. We had 7 new members join during that time. Actually, I wish I had the names of those folks, but 7 new members. Toastmasters International actually says we had 6, but either way, we got more than 5 or 5 or more. Lois is showing us our beautiful Smedley Award ribbon that we got as a result of our amazing membership building efforts. And we continue to have new members join. A couple of more programs coming up. In that email, I also asked if anyone would like to be an assistant vice president membership, 1 or 2 folks. Mr. Andrew Byrne, thank you so much for stepping up and offering your services. Appreciate that. And again, thank you for having Lois for showing us that ribbon. Thank you very much, Nick.
Thank you very much, Lou. Thank you for that. Now, I'm about to close the meeting officially, but I will talk to our guests afterwards. Okay. So it gives me great pleasure to end this resumption of our online presenters meeting for 2021, the first of the year. First of a fabulous 52 that are going to be running this year and more. Please stop the recording and have a great week. Thank you. Let's talk.